What's going on, fellow crafters and craftettes, and welcome back to another Minecraft Mod Spotlight. My name's Creek, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Mekanism mod. Before I hop into it though, I just want to say that this mod was recommended by this guy. I'll throw his name up on screen there. And remember that you guys can use the hashtag CreekMods to recommend any new mods. He also wants me to review Darkcraft, but I just want to let you know that mod is still on 1.6.4. If it ever gets updated to 1.7.10 or whatever the latest version of Minecraft is at that time, I'll definitely reconsider taking a look at it. But for right now, I'm probably not going to roll back to take a look at that mod. But I also want to point out that Mekanism, this mod spotlight, as you probably know from the title of the video, is going to be separated into different videos. This not only helps me keep everything nice and tidy and organized, but because of it being such a large and complex mod, if any of you guys have any questions regarding any specific part of it, you can just go straight to that video. So instead of skimming through an hour and a half long, however long it'll take, video to find the jetpack, you can just go straight to the video that details the miscellaneous items. So nice and tidy, and it should help. Yeah. Sorry, I got distracted. There's like horses making babies in the background. It distracted me. I'm sorry. Let's hop right on into it with the universal cables and energy cubes. So the nice thing about this mod, and I say nice, it's actually fantastic, probably one of the best features in any mod, is that it is so universally, I use that word because it's in the universal cable, compatible with a lot of other mods, and it actually builds on top of those. So if you use what's the other two mods that this goes with, thermal expansion and industrial craft, instead of having to do some complex crafting recipe or something like that to convert the energy from this mod into industrial craft or thermal expansion, you can just make this cable and plug it up to any of those blocks, and it will automatically convert it for you. That right there is like a mod in its own. It's amazing. So you don't have to worry about converting any type of power from one mod to another. Just plug these cables up and it will work. So you have 4 different types of energy cubes. You have the basic one, which is green, the advanced one, which is red, the blue one, or the elite one, which is blue, and the ultimate one, which is purple. And each one of these stores a varying amount of energy. So like ultimate stores, does it actually say how much it stores? I know this one is full and it stores 128, and I do believe this one stores something like 8, I think 32, and then 64. So I think they double each time, if I'm correct. And then you have the corresponding cables. Let me actually go ahead and set this to daytime. You have the corresponding cables here. So the green basic universal cable, advanced cable, elite cable, and ultimate cable. Now these do similar methods. They can only transfer a certain amount of joules at a time. So for example, the universal one can transfer 8, whereas the advanced one can transfer 2. So basically, the higher up you go, the more you want to upgrade your cable. So if you're using ultimate energy cubes, you're probably going to want to be using an ultimate cable just so you get the maximum amount of energy transfer. And as well, these cables do not seem to have any sort of loss over a distance. I know industrial craft, I do believe, and build craft, the longer out you go with the cable, the more energy loss is suffered. These don't appear to have that, so it's fantastic. I could be wrong though, but they don't appear to have that. So what the little squares is, you might be wondering here. If we actually just click into the basic energy cube, as the energy cube fills up, you're going to be able to see the basically overall amount of energy here. And this is 2. And as it fills up as well, it will actually start making a little cube in the block. So as you can see, this one has a green one, this one has a red one, a blue one, and a purple one. This one isn't completely filled up. It's probably about 10%, maybe 15% of the way, so it doesn't actually have the square yet. And another thing to point out is you might be noticing they have different tabs here. So in the front, you have a little tab section that the other sides of the block don't have. This is to transfer energy from the cube. So if you're going to hook up a cable to any spot on the cube, besides this, what it's going to do is transfer energy to it. If you want to transfer energy out of the cube, you have to hook the cable up to the little tab here on the front. So we'll take a universal cable here, hook it up to that, and then hook it up to the energy cube here. And it should start. Yep, there it goes. Because this is a blue cube and we're using full ultimate cube here and ultimate cables, this is filling up rather rapidly, and you can actually start to see the little blue sphere start to form. So that's about it for the universal cables and the energy cubes and how they work. So now let's move on to energy generation. And the most basic form of energy generation is the heat generator. And how this works is you actually put it down in a bed of lava. The more lava around it, the more heat it generates. And if we go into it here, we have, I'll actually explain this slot in a minute, but you can actually see how much heat it's generating with lava, and I'll actually show you real quick. This slot right here, you can put in coal or any other burnable resource, and it will actually take it and basically generate lava, which is then exerted, as you can see, through this cable into this energy cube, and now it's going to be storing the energy for a later use. As well, I'm not sure if you can see right here, but you can see how much energy it is generating. This one is generating 20 joules a tick. So if we go over here, it should still be gradually generating, and it is very slowly, but it is generating. Again, this is a very basic tier generator, so it's probably not the one you're going to want to be using later on in the game. Next, we have the solar generator, which is probably the next in line, moving down the list of OP energy generators here. And the solar generator is very, very basic. It's a solar panel. You put it down. It has to be daylight outside. It has to be, receiving sunlight for it to work like a solar panel. And it's going to be generating energy. So you can see here, it is, the sun is working. So it is generating, what is it? 96 kilojoules? It's 100 kilojoules, I think. No, 96. But if we make it nighttime, so midnight, it's not going to be generating any. But the nice thing about the solar generator is it actually stores energy as well. Well, the other one did that too, the heat generator. But it does it a little bit nicer. So you can see that there. And then if we set the time back to noon, sun is true, and it's going to be able to start generating energy again. Now, how these work is if we go over here, I'll actually get into this a little bit later in the video, but you can actually see I have some solar panels set up on some universal cables. You can use basic, you can use ultimate. I just used ultimate for this tutorial because they transfer the most amount of energy. And then you can basically just hook this up to a energy cube. We'll just stick it right there. And it's going to start generating energy. And you can put a lot of them. So you can have fields of solar generators. Probably not the most, the best way of going about it, but it does work and it does generate a lot of energy. Next up, we have the advanced solar generator, which generates, let's see here, 200 versus 100, basically double the amount of a regular solar panel. And it works the exact same way as a regular solar panel. You can hook it up to with some cables here and hook this up, and ta-da, it's generating energy. So next up we have the wind turbine, probably my favorite because it just looks cool and has an awesome animation. So you just plunk it down anywhere, although it does kind of matter where you put it, because the higher up you are, the more energy it's going to generate because there's going to be more wind. So right now I'm at, what is this? I'm at 4. Probably not the best location to be generating wind. So it's not generating a lot of power at all. It's generating like 60. I think that's what that is. But if we go up to the one I made up here, all the way up in the sky, way up here, I'll actually let you see the Y value there. I think this one is at 100. So this one is going pretty fast because it's it's up in the air. You could go up higher and it'd spin faster and generate a lot more. So this is generating 205. And then I have this hooked up to some universal cables that go back down all the way down to here. And then they're hooked up into some energy cubes. This one's actually full. That's because it's a basic one though. And this one's full too. And then this one's barely climbing. But that's because that's one measly wind turbine, and this is an ultimate energy cube. So this is going to take a very long time to fill up. Next up, we have the biogenerator and the crusher. So the biogenerator only works on one specific item, and that's biofuel. You put some biofuel in here, starts generating power. You can see the biofuel meter here on the left, and the power it's generating here on the right. And if we hook this up, this one's actually full, but it would be generating energy here. And how you get biofuel is through the means of a crusher. You hook it up to an energy source. I have hooked up to an energy cube here. It doesn't use that much energy at all, so you don't have to worry that much about it. And then you just put in something like wheat, any sort of biological item, wheat, apple, I think grass does it too, seeds, and it will crush it and make biofuel. And then with the biofuel, you can just stick it right on into here, and it'll start generating energy. Finally, on the list of generators, we have the gas burning generator. And this one is very, 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 very complicated. So to get this thing to work, I have some solar panels over here, 3 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 15 solar panels hooked up to some universal cables, and the actually going to 2 different places. So the first place this energy is going to is an electric pump. And how an electric pump works is you put it over the source that you want it to capture. In this case, we want it to get water, so I have it over some water here. And it's going to need to be powered, so I have this running up to it, giving it energy. And then I have some mechanical pipes here, transferring the water out of it into an electrolytic separator. Now, the mechanical pipes will work the same way as the universal cables, in the sense that the higher the tier you go, the more water it can transfer. So, for example, this can transfer 6,400. I want to say megabits, but I know that ain't right. A tick, and it can hold 64,000 megabits a tick. Megabits is so not the right word there. So I have the electric pump pumping water through the mechanical pipes to an electrolytic separator. Now how this works is you provide energy to the right side of it, and I have the water going into the front side of it. So we have oxygen here, we have the energy levels here, and we have the water capacity and everything like that. Now from here, we're going to use a pressurized tube, there's only one of these, to pump it into a gas burning generator. Now this is going to then activate and start pumping into energy cubes. As you can see here, it's very, very small. Now actually here I don't have the oxygen pumping out of this. I'll get into that a little bit later. But what you can do is just dump. That's what these buttons down here are for. You can just dump it. So dump the oxygen, and then it will then start to pump, as you can see through here. I think this is that's oxygen. So is this carbon? I think it's carbon. No, hydrogen. There we go. Oh, I'm terrible at biology. So it's it's bumping hydrogen into the gas burning generator, which is then transferring energy to this little cube. Very, very complicated to get set up, and if you don't pump the oxygen out, again, I'll get into that a little bit later, you will have to dump it. Actually, guys, I also want to clarify here, I said this wrong. The universal cable goes into the back of it to supply energy to the electrolytic separator. And you pump the is it oxygen? Yeah, the oxygen out with the red tank. So the hydrogen comes out of the blue tank side, and the oxygen comes out of the red tank side. Now, one of the last things I wanted to cover is one of these smaller details you might have noticed while going over some of these. All of these generators have a little energy section right here. And what this does is you can actually take an item like the electric bow, I'll cover that in another video, and use it in here, and it will actually start to regenerate the energy. Maybe that one might not work because I have it hooked up to something. Let's try it with this. Yeah, there it goes. It is now regenerating the energy into the electric boat, and the electric boat is now fully charged. And of course, you know, the higher tier item you use this on, the faster it's gonna, you know, recharge. So that's going to be it for part 1 of my Mekanism mod spotlights. If you enjoyed the video or it helped you out, please be sure to give it a like on your way out. It would really help me out, and I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you want to see more videos like this, you want to see part 2, you want to get notified when it comes out, be sure to hit the subscribe button, and you'll be sure to get it as soon as it is available. Hopefully I didn't miss anything. I know this mod is very big. And if I did miss anything, be sure to leave a comment and I'll add an annotation. Or if it's really big mistake, I'll make an entirely another video on it. But hopefully I didn't. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!